Welcome to Cold Karma Stories. My name is Emma Jensen, and I'm 23 years old. 2 weeks ago, I stood on a graduation stage in front of 3,000 people while my parents, the same people who refused to pay for my education because I wasn't worth the investment, sat in the front row with their faces drained of all color. They came to watch my twin brother graduate. They had no idea I was even there. They certainly didn't know I'd be the one giving the keynote speech. But this story doesn't begin at graduation. It begins 4 years earlier in my parents' living room when my father looked me straight in the eyes and said something I will never forget. Before I continue, please take a moment to like and subscribe, but only if you truly enjoy this story. And let me know in the comments, where are you watching from and what time is it there? Now, let me take you back to that summer evening in 2021. The acceptance letters arrived on the same Tuesday afternoon in April. Ryan got into Hamilton University, a prestigious private school with a price tag of $68,000 a year. I got into Riverside State, a solid public university, $26,000 annually. Still expensive, but manageable. That evening, Dad called a family meeting in the living room. "We need to discuss finances," he said, settling into his leather armchair like a CEO addressing shareholders. Mom sat on the couch, hands folded. Ryan stood by the window, already glowing with anticipation. I sat across from Dad, still clutching my acceptance letter. "Ryan," Dad began, "we'll cover your full tuition at Hamilton. Room, board, everything." Ryan grinned. Mom smiled. Then Dad turned to me. "Emma, we've decided not to fund your education." The words didn't register at first. "I'm sorry, what?" "Ryan is going to take over the business someday," Dad said matter-of-factly. "He needs the best education, the best connections. Hamilton will give him that." He paused. Then what came next felt like a knife sliding between my ribs. "You're smart, Emma, but you're not the legacy. There's no return on investment with you. The business needs an heir, and that's Ryan." I looked at Mom. She wouldn't meet my eyes. I looked at Ryan. He was already scrolling his phone, probably texting friends about Hamilton. "So, I just figured out myself?" Dad shrugged. "You're resourceful. You'll manage." That night, I didn't cry. I'd cried enough over the years. Over missed birthdays where Ryan got the party and I got a card. Over hand-me-down gifts. Over being the afterthought in every family decision. Instead, I sat in my room and realized something that changed everything. To my parents, I wasn't their daughter. I was the spare. The backup plan that never got activated. But what Dad didn't know, what nobody in this family knew, was that his decision would alter the course of my entire life. And 4 years later, he'd face the consequences in front of thousands. The thing is, this wasn't new. The favoritism had always been there, woven into the fabric of our family, like an ugly pattern everyone pretended not to see. When we turned 16, Ryan got a brand new Ford Mustang with a red bow on top. I got his old laptop, the one with a cracked screen and a fan that sounded like a dying helicopter. "We can't afford 2 cars," Mom had said apologetically. But they could afford Ryan's ski trips, his designer clothes, his summer leadership camps. Family vacations were the worst. Ryan always got his own hotel room. I slept on pull-out couches, once even in a storage closet the resort optimistically called a cozy nook. In every family photo, Ryan stood center frame, smiling. I was always at the edge, sometimes partially cut off, like a person accidentally caught in someone else's snapshot. When I finally asked Mom about it, I was 17, desperate for answers. She just sighed. "Sweetheart, you're imagining things. We love you both the same." But actions don't lie. A few months before the college decision, I found Mom's phone unlocked on the kitchen counter. A text thread with Aunt Carol was open. I shouldn't have read it, but I did. "Poor Emma," Mom had written. "But Richard's right. She's not the one who'll carry the family forward. We have to be practical." I put the phone down and walked away. That night, I made a decision I told no one about. Not because I wanted revenge. Because I wanted to prove something to myself. I opened my laptop, the cracked one with the dying battery, and typed into the search bar, "Full scholarships for independent students." The results loaded slowly, but what I found would change everything. I did the math at 2 a.m., sitting on my bedroom floor with a notebook and a calculator. Riverside State, $26,000 per year. For years, $104,000 total. Parents' contribution, 0. My savings from summer jobs, $2,800. The gap was staggering. If I couldn't close it, I had 3 options. Drop out before I even started. Take on 6 figures of student debt that would follow me for decades. Or go part-time, stretching a 4-year degree into 7 or 8 while working full-time. Every path led to the same place. Becoming exactly what my father said I was. The spare. The one who didn't make it. The twin who faded into the background while her brother shined. I could already hear the family conversations at Thanksgiving. Ryan is doing so well at Hamilton. Emma? Oh, she's still figuring things out. But this wasn't just about proving them wrong. It was about proving myself right. I scrolled through scholarship databases until my eyes burned. Most required recommendations, essays, proof of financial need. Some were scams. Others had deadlines that had already passed. Then I found something. Riverside had a merit scholarship program for first-generation and independent students. Full tuition coverage plus a living stipend. The catch? Only 5 students per year were selected. The competition was brutal. I saved the link. Then I kept scrolling. And that's when I first saw the name that would eventually change my life. The Sterling Scholarship. Full ride, $10,000 annually for living expenses, awarded to only 20 students nationwide. I laughed out loud. 20 students in the entire country. What chance did I have? But I bookmarked it anyway. I had 2 choices. Accept the life my parents designed for me, or design my own. I chose the second. But to do that, I needed a plan, and I needed it immediately. I filled an entire notebook that summer. Every page was a calculation. Every margin was covered in plans. Job number 1, barista at Sunrise Coffee, a campus cafe. Shift, 5 to 8 a.m., estimated monthly income, $900. Job number 2, cleaning crew for the residence halls, weekends only, $400 a month. Job number 3, teaching assistant for the business department if I could land it, another $300. Total, $1,600 per month, roughly $19,000 a year. Still $7,000 short of tuition. That gap would have to come from scholarships. Merit-based ones. The kind you earn, not the kind you're handed. I found the cheapest housing option within walking distance of campus. A tiny room in a house shared with 4 other students. $350 a month, utilities included. No parking, no air conditioning, no privacy. It would have to do. My schedule crystallized into something brutal but precise. 5 a.m., work at the cafe. 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., classes. 6 p.m. to 10 p.m., study, work, or TA duties. Sleep, 11 p.m. to 4 a.m. 4 to 5 hours a night for 4 years. The week before I left for college, Ryan posted photos from his trip to Hawaii with friends. Beaches, surfboards, sunset cocktails. I was packing my thrift store comforter into a secondhand suitcase. Our lives were already diverging, and we hadn't even started yet. But here's what kept me going. Every night before sleep, I'd whisper the same thing to myself. This is the price of freedom. Freedom from their expectations. Freedom from their judgment. Freedom from needing their approval. I didn't know then how right I'd be. And I didn't know that somewhere on the Riverside campus, there was a professor who would see something in me that my own parents never could. Freshman year, Thanksgiving. I sat alone in my tiny rented room, phone pressed to my ear, listening to the sounds of home. Laughter in the background. The clink of dishes. The warm chaos of a family gathering I wasn't part of. Hello, Emma. Mom's voice was distant, distracted. Hi, Mom. Happy Thanksgiving. Oh, yes. Happy Thanksgiving, honey. How are you? I'm okay. Is Dad there? Can I talk to him? A pause. Then I heard his voice in the background, muffled but clear. Tell her I'm busy. The words landed like stones. Mom's voice returned, artificially bright. Your father's just in the middle of something. Ryan was telling the funniest story about his fraternity. "It's fine, Mom. Are you eating enough? Do you need anything?" I looked around my room. At the instant ramen on my desk. At the second-hand blanket. At the textbook I'd borrowed from the library because I couldn't afford to buy it.
No, Mom.
I don't need anything. Okay. Well, we love you. Love you too. I hung up. Then I opened Instagram. The first thing in my feed was a photo Ryan had just posted. Mom, Dad, and Ryan at the dining table. Candles lit. Turkey gleaming. The caption, "Thankful for my amazing family." My amazing family. I zoomed in on the photo. 3 place settings. 3 chairs. Not 4. They hadn't even set a place for me. I sat there for a long time, staring at that image. Something shifted inside me that night. The ache I'd carried for years, the longing for their approval, their attention, their love, it didn't disappear. But it changed. It hollowed out. And where the pain used to be, there was only quiet emptiness. Strangely, that emptiness gave me something the pain never had.
Clarity.
Second semester, freshman year. Microeconomics 101. Professor David Richardson was legendary at Riverside. 32 years of teaching, published in every major journal, terrifying reputation. Students whispered that he hadn't given an A in 7 years. I sat in the 3rd row, took meticulous notes, and turned in my first essay expecting a B- at best. The paper came back with 2 letters at the top. A plus. Beneath the grade was a note in red ink. "See me after class." My heart dropped. What did I do wrong? After the lecture, I approached his desk. Professor Richardson was already packing his bag, silver hair neatly combed, reading glasses perched on his nose. "Emma Jensen." "Yes, sir." "Sit down." I sat. He looked at me over his glasses. "This essay is one of the best pieces of undergraduate writing I've seen in 25 years. Where did you study before this?" "Nowhere special. Public high school. Nothing advanced." "And your family?" "Academics." I hesitated. "My family doesn't support my education, financially or otherwise." The words came out before I could stop them. Professor Richardson set down his pen. "Tell me more." So I did. For the first time, I told someone the whole story. The favoritism, the rejection, the 3 jobs, the 4 hours of sleep. All of it. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. Then he said something that changed my trajectory forever. "Have you heard of the Sterling Scholarship?" I nodded slowly. "I've seen it, but it's impossible. 20 students nationwide." 20 students nationwide, he said, but they always come from somewhere. Full ride, living stipend, and the recipients at partner schools give the commencement address at graduation. He leaned forward. "Emma, you have potential. Extraordinary potential. But potential means nothing if no one sees it. Let me help you be seen." The next 2 years blurred into a relentless rhythm. Wake at 4 a.m., coffee shop by 5. Classes by 9. Library until midnight. Sleep. Repeat. I missed every party, every football game, every late-night pizza run. While other students built memories, I built a GPA. 4.0, 6 semesters straight. There were moments I almost broke. Once I fainted during a shift at the cafe. Exhaustion, the doctor said. Dehydration. I was back at work the next day. Another time, I sat in Kyle's car. He'd lent it to me for a job interview and cried for 20 minutes. Not because anything specific had happened, just because everything had happened all at once for years. But I kept going. Junior year, Professor Richardson called me into his office. "I'm nominating you for the Sterling." I stared at him. "You're serious?" 10 essays. 3 rounds of interviews. "It'll be the hardest thing you've ever done." He paused. "But you've already survived harder." The application consumed 3 months of my life. Essays about resilience, leadership, vision. Phone interviews with panels of professors. Background checks. Reference letters. Somewhere in the middle of it, Ryan texted me. "First time in months. Mom says you don't come home for holidays anymore." That's kind of weird, TBH. I read the message. Then I put my phone face down and went back to my essay. The truth? I couldn't afford a plane ticket. But even if I could, I wasn't sure I wanted to go. That Christmas, I sat alone in my rented room with a cup of instant noodles and a tiny paper Christmas tree Kyle had made me. No family, no presents, no drama. It was somehow the most peaceful holiday I'd ever had. The email arrived at 6:49 a.m. on a Tuesday in September, senior year. Subject, Sterling Foundation, final round notification. My hands were shaking so badly, I could barely scroll. Dear Miss Jensen, congratulations. Out of 200 applicants, you have been selected as one of 50 finalists for the Sterling Scholarship. The final round will consist of an in-person interview at our Chicago headquarters. 50 finalists. 20 winners. I had a 40% chance if all things were equal. But things were never equal. The interview was scheduled for a Friday in Chicago, 900 miles away. I checked my bank account. $923. A last-minute flight would cost $450 minimum. A hotel would eat the rest. And I had rent due in 2 weeks. I was about to close the laptop when Kyle knocked on my door. You look like you saw a ghost. I showed him the email. He screamed. Literally screamed. You're going, he said. End of discussion. Kyle, I can't afford. Bus ticket, $60. Leaves Thursday night. Arrives Friday morning. I'll lend you the money. I can't ask you to. You're not asking. I'm telling. He grabbed my shoulders. This is your shot. You don't get another one. So I took the bus. 9 hours overnight, arriving in Chicago at 5 a.m. with a stiff neck and a borrowed blazer from the thrift store. The interview waiting room was full of polished candidates. Designer bags. Parents hovering nearby. Easy confidence. I looked down at my second-hand outfit, my scuffed shoes. I don't belong here, I thought. Then I remembered Professor Richardson's words. You don't need to belong. You need to show them you deserve to. 2 weeks after the interview, I was walking to my morning shift when my phone buzzed. Subject, Sterling Scholarship decision. I stopped in the middle of the sidewalk. A cyclist swerved around me, cursing. I didn't hear him. I opened the email. Dear Ms. Jensen, we are pleased to inform you that you have been selected as a Sterling Scholar for the class of 2025. I read it 3 times. Then a 4th. Then I sat down on the curb and cried. Not quiet tears. Ugly, heaving sobs that made strangers stare. 3 years of exhaustion, loneliness, and grinding determination poured out of me right there on the sidewalk outside Sunrise Coffee. I was a Sterling Scholar. Full tuition. $10,000 a year for living expenses. And the right to transfer to any partner university in their network. That night, Professor Richardson called me personally. Emma, I just got the notification. I'm so proud of you. Thank you for everything. There's something else, he said. The Sterling allows you to transfer to a partner school for your final year. Hamilton University is on the list. Hamilton. Ryan's school. If you transfer, Professor Richardson continued, you'd graduate with our top honors. And the Sterling Scholar delivers the commencement speech. My breath caught. Emma, you'd be valedictorian. You'd speak at graduation in front of everyone. I thought about my parents. About them sitting in the audience for Ryan's big day, completely unaware I was there. I'm not doing this for revenge, I said quietly. I know. I'm doing it because Hamilton has the better program for my career. I know that too. I paused. But if they happen to see me shine, that's just a bonus. I made my decision that night, and I told no one in my family. 3 weeks into my final semester at Hamilton, it happened. I was in the library, 4th floor, tucked into a corner corral with my corporate law textbook, when I heard a voice that made my stomach drop. Oh my God. Emma? I looked up. Ryan stood 3 feet away, a half-empty energy drink in his hand, mouth hanging open. What are you? How are you? He couldn't form a complete sentence. Hi, Ryan. You go here?
Since when?
Mom and Dad didn't say anything. Mom and Dad don't know. He blinked. What do you mean they don't know? Exactly what I said. They don't know I'm here. Ryan set his drink down, still staring at me like I'd materialized from thin air. But how? They're not paying for Hamilton. I mean, how did you? I paid for it myself. Scholarship. The word hung between us. Ryan's expression shifted. Confusion, disbelief, and something else. Something that looked almost like shame. Why didn't you tell anyone? I looked at him. My twin brother. The one who'd gotten everything I'd been denied. The one who'd never asked, not once in 4 years, how I was surviving. Did you ever ask? He opened his mouth, closed it. I gathered my books. I need to get to class. Emma, wait. He grabbed my arm. Do you hate us? The family? I looked at his hand on my sleeve, then at his face. No, I said quietly. You can't hate people you've stopped caring about. I pulled my arm free and walked away. That night, my phone lit up with missed calls.
Mom. Dad.
Ryan again. I silenced them all. Whatever was coming, it would happen on my terms, not theirs. Ryan called them immediately. I know because he told me later, when everything was over. She's here, Ryan had said, barely through the door of his apartment. Emma is at Hamilton. She's been here since September. According to Ryan, the silence on the other end lasted a full 10 seconds. Then Dad's voice. That's impossible. She doesn't have the money. She said scholarship. What scholarship? She's not scholarship material, Richard. Mom's voice in the background. Dad, I saw her in the library. She's really here. I'll handle this. Dad called me the next morning. First time he'd dial my number in 3 years. Emma, we need to talk. About what? Ryan says you're at Hamilton. You transferred without telling us. I didn't think you'd care. A pause. Of course I care. You're my daughter. Am I? The words came out flat. Not bitter. Just factual. You told me I wasn't worth the investment. Remember that? Silence. Emma, that was 4 years ago. In the living room. You said I wasn't the legacy, that there was no return on investment with me. I don't remember saying. I do. More silence. Then, we should discuss this in person. At graduation. We're coming for Ryan's ceremony. I know you are, I said. I'll see you there, Dad. I hung up. He didn't call back. That night, I sat in my small apartment, the one I'd paid for myself with money I'd earned, and thought about that conversation. He didn't remember. Or he chose not to remember. Either way, he'd never actually seen me. Not really. But in 3 months, he would. And when that moment came, it wouldn't be because I forced him to look. It would be because he couldn't look away. The weeks before graduation became a strange kind of quiet. I knew they were coming. Mom, Dad, Ryan, the whole perfect family unit descending on campus to celebrate Ryan's big achievement. They'd booked a hotel, planned a dinner, ordered flowers for him. They still didn't know the full picture. Ryan had told them I was at Hamilton, but he didn't know about the Sterling. He didn't know about the valedictorian honor. He didn't know I'd been asked to deliver the commencement address. Professor Richardson called to check in. She'd made the trip to watch. Do you want me to notify your family about the speech? No, Professor. I want them to hear it when everyone else does. She was quiet for a moment. This isn't about making them feel bad. No, I said honestly. It's about telling my truth. If they happen to be in the audience, that's their business. Kyle drove up for the ceremony. He helped me pick out a dress. The first new piece of clothing I'd bought in 2 years that wasn't from a thrift store. Navy blue, simple, elegant. You look like a CEO, he said. I feel like I'm going to throw up. Same thing, probably. The night before graduation, I couldn't sleep. Not from nerves, not exactly. I kept wondering what I would feel when I saw them. Would the old pain come rushing back? Would I want them to hurt the way I'd hurt? I stared at the ceiling until 3 a.m., searching for answers. What I found surprised me. I didn't want revenge. I didn't want them to suffer. I just wanted to be free. And tomorrow, one way or another, I would be. Hey, I want to pause here for a second. If you've ever been underestimated by your own family, if you know what it feels like to work twice as hard for half the recognition, type same in the comments. I want to know how many of us have been through this. And if you're enjoying the stories so far, hit that like button. It really helps. Now, back to graduation morning. May 18th. Bright sun, perfect blue sky, the kind of weather that felt almost ironic. Hamilton Stadium seated 3,000. By 9 a.m., it was nearly full. Families pouring through the gates. Flowers and balloons everywhere. The hum of excited conversation filling the air. I arrived early, slipping in through the faculty entrance. My regalia was different from the other graduates. Standard black gown, yes, but across my shoulders lay the gold sash of valedictorian. Pinned to my chest was the Sterling Scholar Medallion, its bronze surface catching the morning light. I took my seat in the VIP section at the front of the stage area, reserved for honors students. For speakers. 20 feet away in the general graduate section, Ryan was taking selfies with his fraternity brothers. He hadn't seen me yet. And in the front row of the audience, dead center, best seats in the house, sat my parents. Dad wore his navy suit, the one he saved for important occasions. Mom had on a cream-colored dress, a massive bouquet of roses in her lap. Between them sat an empty chair, probably reserved for coats and purses. Not for me. Never for me. Dad was fiddling with his camera, adjusting settings, preparing to capture Ryan's moment. Mom was smiling, waving at someone across the aisle. They looked so happy. So proud. They had no idea. The university president approached the podium. The crowd hushed. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Hamilton University's Class of 2025 commencement ceremony. Applause.
Cheers.
I sat perfectly still, hands folded in my lap. In a few minutes, they would call my name. And everything would change. I looked once more at my parents, at their expectant faces. Their cameras ready for Ryan's shining moment. Soon, I thought. Soon you'll finally see me. The ceremony proceeded in waves. Welcome address. Acknowledgements. Honorary degrees. The usual pageantry that stretches time like taffy. Then the university president returned to the podium. And now it is my great honor to introduce this year's valedictorian and Sterling Scholar. I felt my heart rate spike. A student who has demonstrated extraordinary resilience, academic excellence, and strength of character. In the audience, my mother leaned over to whisper something to my father. He nodded, adjusting his camera lens, pointed at Ryan. Please join me in welcoming Emma Jensen. For one suspended moment, nothing happened. Then I stood. 3,000 pairs of eyes turned toward me. I walked toward the podium, my heels clicking against the stage floor. The gold sash swayed with each step. The sterling medallion gleamed against my chest. And in the front row, I watched my parents' faces transform. Dad's hand froze on his camera. Mom's bouquet slipped sideways. Confusion first. Who is that? Then recognition. Wait, is that? Then shock. It can't be. Then nothing but pale, stricken silence. Ryan's head snapped toward the stage. His jaw dropped. I saw him mouth my name. Emma. I reached the podium. Adjusted the microphone. 3,000 people applauded. My parents didn't. They just sat there, frozen, as if someone had pressed pause on their entire world. For the first time in my life, they were looking at me. Really looking. Not at Ryan. Not through me. At me. I let the applause fade. Then I leaned into the microphone. Good morning, everyone. My voice was steady.
Calm.
4 years ago, I was told I wasn't worth the investment. In the front row, my mother's hand flew to her mouth. Dad's camera hung useless at his side. And I began to speak. I was told I didn't have what it takes. I was told to expect less from myself because others expected less from me. 3,000 people sat in perfect silence. So, I learned to expect more. I spoke about the 3 jobs, the 4 hours of sleep, the instant ramen dinners, the second-hand textbooks. I spoke about what it meant to build something from nothing. Not because you wanted to prove anyone wrong, but because you needed to prove yourself right. I didn't name names. I didn't point fingers. I didn't need to. The greatest gift I received wasn't financial support or encouragement. It was the chance to discover who I am without anyone's validation. In the front row, my mother was crying. Not the proud, joyful tears of a graduation ceremony. Something raw. Something that looked like grief. My father sat motionless, staring at the podium like he was seeing a stranger. Maybe he was. To anyone who has ever been told you're not enough, I paused, letting the words settle. You are. You always have been. I looked out at the sea of faces. At the other graduates who'd struggled. At the parents who'd sacrificed. At the friends who'd believed. And yes, at my own family sitting in the front row like statues. I am not here because someone believed in me. I am here because I learned to believe in myself. The applause that followed was thunderous. People rose to their feet. Standing ovation. 3,000 people cheering for a girl they'd never met. I stepped back from the podium, and as I descended the stage, I saw James Sterling IV waiting at the bottom. But he wasn't the only one. The reception area buzzed with champagne and congratulations. I was shaking hands with the dean when I saw them approaching. My parents, moving through the crowd like they were wading through water. Dad reached me first. Emma. His voice was hoarse. Why didn't you tell us? I accepted a glass of sparkling water from a passing server.
Took a sip.
Did you ever ask? He opened his mouth. Closed it. Mom arrived beside him. Mascara streaked down her cheeks. Baby, I'm so sorry. We didn't know. You knew. I kept my voice even. You chose not to see. That's not fair, Dad started. Fair. The word came out calm, not sharp. You told me I wasn't worth investing in. You paid $400,000 for Ryan's education and told me to figure it out myself. That's what happened. Mom reached for me. I stepped back. Emma, please. I'm not angry, I said. And I meant it. The anger had burned away years ago, replaced by something cleaner. But I'm not the same person who left your house 4 years ago. Dad's jaw tightened. I made a mistake. I said things I shouldn't have. You said what you believed. I met his eyes. You were right about one thing, though. I wasn't worth the investment. Not to you. But I was worth every sacrifice I made for myself. He flinched like I'd struck him. James Sterling IV appeared at my elbow, extending his hand. Miss Jensen, brilliant speech. The foundation is proud to have you. I shook his hand while my parents watched. The founder of one of the nation's most prestigious scholarships, treating their worthless daughter like a treasure. I saw it hit them then. The full weight of what they'd missed. What they'd thrown away. After Mr. Sterling moved on, I turned back to my parents. They looked smaller somehow. Diminished. I'm not going to pretend everything's fine, I said. Because it's not. Emma, please, Mom whispered. Can we just talk? As a family, we are talking. I mean really talk. Come home for the summer. Let us. No. The word was firm, but not harsh. I have a job in Chicago. I start in 2 weeks. I won't be coming home. Dad stepped forward. You're cutting us off? Just like that. I'm setting boundaries. There's a difference. What do you want from us? His voice cracked. For the first time in my life, I saw my father look lost. Tell me what you want and I'll do it. I considered the question. Really considered it. I don't want anything from you anymore. That's the point. I took a breath. But if you want to talk, really talk, you can call me. I might answer. I might not. It depends on whether you're calling to apologize or to make yourself feel better. Mom was crying again. We love you, Emma. We've always loved you. Maybe, I said. But love isn't just words. It's choices. And you made yours. Ryan appeared at the edge of our circle, hovering uncertainly. Emma, he hesitated. Congratulations. Thank you. No hug. No tearful reconciliation. But no cruelty either. I'll call you sometime, I told him. If you want. He nodded, eyes wet. I'd like that. I turned and walked away. Not running. Not escaping. Just moving forward. Professor Richardson was waiting by the exit, a quiet smile on his face. You did well, he said. I'm free, I replied. And for the first time in my life, I meant it. The ripple started before my parents even left campus. At the reception, I watched it happen. Watched the slow realization spread through the crowd of family friends and acquaintances. Mrs. Patterson from Dad's country club approached my mother. Diane, I didn't know Emma went to Hamilton. And a Sterling scholar? You must be so proud. My mother's smile looked like it hurt.
Yes.
We're very proud. How on earth did you keep it a secret? If my daughter won that, I'd have it on billboards. My mother didn't have an answer. Over the following weeks, the questions multiplied. Dad's business partners asked about me. Saw your daughter's speech online. Incredible story. You must have really pushed her to excel. He couldn't tell them the truth. That he'd done the opposite. Ryan called me 3 days after graduation. Mom hasn't stopped crying. Dad barely talks. He just sits there. I'm sorry to hear that. Are you? I thought about it. I don't want them to suffer. But I'm not responsible for their feelings. Silence on the line. Emma, I'm sorry. I should have asked. I should have paid attention. I was so wrapped up in my own stuff. I know you were. And you knew I was oblivious. I knew you had no reason to notice. I paused. Neither of us chose the way they raised us. But we can choose what happens next. More silence. Do you hate me?
No.
And I meant it. I don't have the energy to hate anyone. I just want to move forward. Can we maybe get coffee sometime? Start over. I thought about my brother. About the boy who'd gotten everything and still ended up empty-handed in a different way. Yeah, I said. I'd like that. 2 months after graduation, I stood in my new apartment in Chicago. It was small, a studio really, one window overlooking a brick wall, kitchen the size of a closet. But it was mine. I'd signed the lease with money from my first paycheck at Bennett Consulting Group, one of the top firms in the city. Entry-level position, long hours, steep learning curve. I'd never been happier. Professor Richardson called on a Saturday morning. How's the big city treating you? Exhausting. Exciting. Everything they warned me about.
He laughed. That sounds about right.
I'm proud of you, Emma. I hope you know that. I do. Thank you for everything. Kyle visited the following weekend. He walked into my studio, looked around, and declared it exactly as small and depressing as expected. Then he hugged me so hard I couldn't breathe. You did it, Em. You actually did it. One evening, I found a letter in my mailbox. Handwritten. 3 pages. My mother's looping script. Dear Emma, I don't expect you to forgive us. I'm not sure I would if I were you. She wrote about regret. About the 1,000 small ways she'd failed me. About watching me on that stage and realizing she'd been looking at a stranger, who was also her daughter. I know I can't undo what happened, she wrote, but I want you to know I see you now. I see who you've become. And I am so sorry I didn't see you sooner. I read the letter twice. Then I folded it carefully and put it in my desk drawer. I didn't reply. Not yet. Not because I was punishing her, but because I needed time to figure out what I wanted to say, if anything. For once, the choice was mine. Okay, we're almost at the end, but I have to ask. If you were in my shoes, would you forgive your parents? Comment yes if you'd forgive them, no if you wouldn't, or maybe if, like me, you'd need time. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now's the time. We've got so many more stories like this one coming. Alright, here's how it all ended. I used to think love was something you earned. That if I was smart enough, good enough, successful enough, my parents would finally see me. That their approval was a prize at the end of some invisible race. For years of struggle taught me something different. You can't make someone love you the right way. You can't earn what should have been given freely. And you can't spend your whole life waiting for people to notice your worth. At some point, you have to notice it yourself. I look at my life now. My apartment.
My job.
My friends who chose me. And I realize something. I built this. Every piece of it. Not out of anger. Not out of spite. But out of necessity. My parents' rejection didn't break me. It rebuilt me. The girl who sat in that living room 4 years ago desperate for her father's approval. She doesn't exist anymore. In her place is a woman who knows exactly what she's worth and doesn't need anyone else to validate it. Some nights I still think about them. About the family dinners I wasn't invited to. The Christmas photos without my face. The $400,000 they spent on my brother while I ate ramen in a rented room. It still hurts sometimes. I don't think it ever stops hurting completely. But the hurt doesn't control me anymore. I've learned something that took years to understand. Forgiveness isn't about letting someone off the hook. It's about releasing your own grip on the pain. I'm not there yet. Not fully. But I'm working on it. And for the first time in my life, I'm working on it for me. Not to make anyone else comfortable. Not to keep the peace. Just for me. 6 months after graduation, my phone rang. Dad. I almost let it go to voicemail. Almost. Hello.
Emma.
His voice sounded different. Tired. Thank you for picking up. I wasn't sure you would. I almost didn't. I deserve that. I waited. I've been thinking every day since graduation. Trying to figure out what to say to you. He paused. I keep coming up empty. Then just say what's true. Another long pause. I was wrong. Not just about the money. About everything. The way I treated you. The things I said. The years I didn't call. Didn't ask. Didn't. His voice cracked. I have no excuse. I was your father. And I failed you. I listened to him breathe on the other end of the line. I hear you. I said finally. That's all. What did you expect? I don't know. I thought maybe you'd tell me how to fix this. It's not my job to tell you how to fix what you broke. More silence. You're right. He sounded older than I'd ever heard him. You're absolutely right. But I took a breath. If you want to try, I'm willing to let you. You are? I'm not promising anything. No family dinners. No pretending everything's fine. But if you want to have a real conversation, honest, no deflecting, I'll listen. That's more than I deserve. Yes, I said. It is.
He laughed. A small, broken sound.
You've always been the strong one, Emma. I was just too blind to see it. Yeah, I said. You were. We talked for a few more minutes. Nothing profound. Just two people trying to find common ground across years of wreckage. It wasn't forgiveness. But it was a start. It's been 2 years since graduation. I'm still in Chicago, still at Bennett Consulting Group, though I've been promoted twice. I'm starting my MBA at Northwestern this fall, paid for by my company. The girl who ate ramen and slept 4 hours a night, she'd hardly recognize me now. But I haven't forgotten her. I carry her with me every day. Ryan and I meet for coffee once a month. It's awkward sometimes. We're learning to be siblings as adults, which is strange because we never really were as kids. But he's trying. I can see that now. I'm sorry I didn't see it, he told me at our last coffee date. All those years, I was so focused on what I was getting, I never asked what you weren't. I know. How could you not hate me for that? Because you didn't create the system. You just benefited from it. My parents came to visit last month. First time in Chicago. It was uncomfortable, stilted. Dad spent half the time apologizing. Mom spent the other half crying. But they came. They showed up at my door, in my city, in the life I built without them. That meant something. I'm not ready to call us a family again. That word carries too much weight, too much history. But we're something. Working on something. Last month, I wrote a check to Riverside State Scholarship Fund. $10,000. Anonymous. For students without family financial support. Kyle cried when I told him. You're literally changing someone's life. Someone changed mine, I said. I thought about Professor Richardson. About the coffee shop shifts at dawn. About the night I bookmarked the Sterling Scholarship, never believing I'd actually win it. About how far I've come. And about how far I still want to go. If you're watching this and something in my story resonated with you, if you've ever been overlooked, underestimated, or told you weren't good enough by the people who are supposed to love you most, I want you to hear this. They were wrong. They were always wrong. Your worth is not determined by who sees it. It's not a number on a check or a seat at a table or a place in a photo. Your worth exists whether or not a single person on this planet acknowledges it. I spent 18 years of my life waiting for my parents to notice me. I spent 4 more proving that I didn't need them to. And you know what I finally learned? The approval I was chasing was never going to fill the hole inside me. Only I could do that. Some of you are estranged from your families. Some of you are still fighting for scraps of attention. Some of you are just starting to realize that the love you're getting isn't the love you deserve. Wherever you are in that journey, I want you to know it's okay to protect yourself. It's okay to set boundaries. It's okay to decide that you matter more than keeping the peace. And it's okay to forgive, but only when you're ready, not a moment before. You don't need your parents, your siblings, or anyone else to confirm what you already know. You are enough. You always have been. Take a look in the mirror and say it out loud. I am enough. That's the first step. The rest? That's up to you. But I believe in you. Because if a girl who is called not worth the investment can stand on a stage in front of 3,000 people as a sterling scholar, you can do anything. Thank you for staying until the end. If this story meant something to you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And leave a comment. What part resonated with you the most? Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss our next story.